Happy Sunday, everyone. This is Colette Marie coming to you live. Well, not live, pre-recorded. Um, I thought that I would offer a little bit of a yoga online class, pre-recorded class for you all. And Mr. Cole's gonna assist or jump in various points of class time. So if you are ready to go, I would recommend grabbing a hold of a strap, a couple blocks, a bolster and a blanket if you have one, and of course a yoga mat. And this is going to be more of a low-key, chill kind of class, and a more supported practice this morning. So go ahead and grab your items and I will meet you on the mat. And I apologize if you happen to hear some sirens going on outside. It's because I live near a firehouse. So you might hear one or three go by in the course of our practice time. So my apologies in advance for that. So here we are. I'm gonna grab my items. I have my bolster. I have my yoga strap for when I need it. Couple blocks. All right, I'm actually gonna grab two more. I use four because I might need to use a couple more for other poses. And we're gonna actually start off in a comfortable seated position. So for myself, I will sit on the bolster. This is a good way to come to a sitting position that your hips might not be as agreeable with. And he's gonna sit next to me. So let me grab what I need. So here I am, I'm sitting on the bolster. I am going to place each block underneath a leg to make this as comfortable and as pleasant as possible. And so here we are. A nice, pleasant seated pose. And you can always sit a little higher if the knees aren't falling down to be in line with the hips. So, elevate your tailbone to the degree that works for you, to the height that works for you. And let's begin with some deep breathing. Hold that thought. No. No. Socks. Let's take a big breath through the nose. On the next inhale, here we go. We're gonna hold the breath for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale again for 3, 2, 1. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 3, 2, 1. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 3, 2, 1, and hold for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now take a regular inhale through the nose. Empty out through the mouth. So that is a bit of breath retention. You inhale for 3 seconds, for example, and you exhale for the double amount of time. That would be 6. I usually will hold for 3 in the middle This is called kumbhaka breath retention, where we are trying to increase more focus and clarity of the mind. Also, it helps to reduce stress and tension and anxiety. And we are increasing our oxygen flow and holding the amount of oxygen within the body and the brain before actually exhaling all of that out, but very slowly, very, very slowly, double the amount of time. So that is the benefit of kumbhaka breath retention. I recommend doing at least 10 of those kinds of breaths, ideally 5 on the inhale, hold for 5, 10 on the exhale. That would be the goal. But you can do 3, 3, and 6, or 3, 1, and 6, however you want to work with the numbers, but it's always going to be double the amount of time to exhale as it was to inhale. So if you inhaled for 3 seconds, you exhale for 6. If you inhale for 5, exhale for 10. That's how that works. In the meantime, we're going to come to our ujjayi breath, which is this throat-like breathing technique, sort of like a narrowing of the airway. You have this little flap in the throat to which you can close voluntarily, just enough to funnel the air through, which then creates a sound, kind of like a wind tunnel. Some refer to it as ocean breath. You know, to each his own, however you want to visualize what that might sound like. But there's the sound that comes through the nose and the airway with that closure, slight closure, inhale. And you exhale from that same space. And you might not hear my breathing. It's faint, it's loud to me, but it might be very faint to you. But the idea is that you hear your own breath in that manner. You hear the inhale almost as if you're breathing through your throat. Like there's this air going into the throat and out of the throat. It's kind of the sensation that it, for me, that it feels like. So you inhale and you exhale. That's that warrior sound or ocean sound or wind tunnel sound of breath, ujjayi breath technique. That also increases focus, concentration. It's used for meditation and for asana practice. You use ujjayi breath. It's kind of like wine pairing with food. You want to pair the right breathing technique with the right action or activity. Uh, this ensures that whatever you're doing will be well curated, will be a full experience, and you get, you know, the most that you can get or receive from what you are doing. So pairing the right breath with the right activity is key. So when it comes to an asana practice, we want to pair the right pranayama practice with the right asana practice. So when it comes to movement and flow, where you're moving arms and legs and you're doing warriors and twists and turns and triangles and standing balancing postures and a sun salutation sequence, ujjayi breath is the breath that you would pair for that kind of movement, for that sort of forceful activity. You wouldn't pair alternate nostril breathing with asana practice at that level. Why? Because you have a hand on the nose. At what point are you able to take the hand off doing a sun salutation? So that particular kind of breath technique doesn't really pair well with that sort of movement sequencing of asana practice. However, you can pair that breathing technique, nadi shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing, with a seated meditation practice. So it pairs well with a seated pose, whether that's cross-legged pose or kneeling posture. Pick your posture of choice, and that would be the best technique you could use for that, along with other pranayama practices. But nadi shodhana is the breathing practice that you would employ with a seated posture, because you don't need your hands to sit, at which point you would close one nostril, right? And you would inhale through the opening nostril. Then you would pinch off the opening nostril so that both nostrils are closed. Then you open the other opposite nostril and you exhale through that nostril. Then you inhale through the same nostril while the other one is closed, pinch it off, open the other, and you exhale. And so you repeat that sequence. And sometimes what I do is I add essential oil into the palm of my hand, particularly eucalyptus oil or peppermint oil or any kind of other oil that speaks to you in the moment, so that the aroma of the oil is then filtered in the nose. And again, it's like wine pairings. I pair the right oil with this practice for what I need to experience, to what I need to experience in the moment, what I need to have or feel, or what's speaking to me, what's calling to me. So oftentimes, particularly in the winter, for example, I will defer to eucalyptus oil and use Nadi Shodhana to experience an opening of each airway, each nostril, right? Which then balances the right and left hemispheres of the brain, unclogs the nostril if you have any congestion that goes on. And I will do that breathing technique for about 10 rounds, sometimes 20. Kapalabhati breath technique is more of an abdominal forceful breath. It's a short inhale, quick exhale through the nose, not through the mouth. It's always in through the nose, exhale through the nose. In Kundalini yoga, arms and hands are also added. So in some cases, you can flash the hands. That will then pair with the actual abdominal contraction. For example, right? Some people hold the abdomen with the hands, and it's a quick, quick cadence to the breath. So there's a pace with that one. And you can do that for about 50 rounds. Some people do it for 3 rounds of 100. It's a lot of oxygen to the brain, so you get a little lightheaded. Creates a feeling of euphoria. It is a contraction of the abdominal muscles, so there's a sort of like, it's almost like doing crunches. So it does help to tone the abs as well. So that's an interesting side effect, because the muscles are being used in such a way that if you practice this regularly, your abdominal muscles do, strengthen over time. So those are the two, added types of breathing techniques I use. The Kapalabhati breath, I do not use in seated meditation. It's not a practice that I feel pairs well when I'm trying to just sit and be in a still place. That's too much breathing activity. That pairs well at the beginning or the end of an asana practice, at the beginning and the end of a movement practice. Bikram yoga typically employs Kapalabhati breath at the end. I want to say some other practices might employ that at the beginning or the end. Perhaps Ashtanga yoga practice or whatever. I might be wrong with that, so don't quote me on that. But I know Bikram for sure. So when it comes to breathing practices, you want to use the right one for the right thing. So that is my spiel for that. And as you can see, we've been sitting in this cross-legged position for quite a bit. So we're going to recross the legs so that we're not one side dominant. Here we are. So in regards to doing a little bit more movement, hasn't turned the music down, so I apologize if it's a little too loud. We're going to take the long breaths in through the nose and long exhales through the nose. And again, creating that sound through the throat, going back to our Ujjayi breath. And in which case, we're going to take if you have a secondary pair of blocks, I would grab them. Here we are. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to actually turn them up a little higher because my hips are still rather tight this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and place my left forearm on my left block. Here we are. All right. Then I'm going to take the right arm and I'm going to inhale the right arm up. On the exhale, I'm going to reach towards my left here. As you can see, my left palm is facing up, not down. This allows the left shoulder to plug in quite a bit. I'm not gonna let the elbow bend so the hand kind of like falls towards my head. I'm gonna extend the elbow so that the arm is long, plug the shoulder in, turn my gaze up toward the ceiling, and then reach at a nice angle. What happens here is I get a beautiful stretch along the pinky line of my hand, the medial part of the arm, down through the inner elbow, down through the tricep, into the lat, down the rib cage muscles, side abdominal muscles, and into the iliacus or iliac crest, into the hip itself. And I'm going to continue to hang out here for another inhale and exhale. I might even adjust my cervical bones here, giving myself a little neck crack. One more breath in and out. And I'm going to teeter-totter myself into the same pose on the inhale and exhale, bringing my right forearm to the block and my left arm at a nice sharp angle like we did on the other side. I'm going to turn my gaze upward. Notice, I'm working on making sure my left knee stays downward toward the floor so that it doesn't pop up, because I don't want it to pop up. I want it to stay grounded as much as possible. Plug the shoulders in, turn the gaze upward, or look forward. I mean, it's your neck. You have to decide what works for you. But take that big breath in through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Let's teeter-totter the arms and body, or rather torso, back up. Now the arms are at a T, palms facing up. Take an inhale here. On the exhale, rotate the hands down as far back as they can go. Turn the palms up, inhale. Rotate the thumbs as far back as they can go. And exhale. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. Breathing in, turn the pinkies all the way up. Exhale. Good. Turn the palms back up as we started out in the beginning. Inhale. Hold here as you exhale. Inhale, bring the arms straight up overhead. Palms will face each other. Look up. And exhale, draw the palms together over the heart center. Let's inhale, separate the arms. Draw them out and up. Inhale. Looking up, palms touch, exhale over the heart. Let's do that again. Inhale, arms reach out and flow up toward the ceiling. Look up, palms will touch, exhale over the heart. Good. Let's recross the legs to back to the regular side that you were in. Sitting cross-legged for some of us is not really the most easy thing to do, but we do what we can. Now I'm going to bring my secondary pair of blocks in front of me, because I'm going to get ready to fold forward. I'm going to bring the forearms to the tops of the blocks. I have them up at the middle, there we go, level. If you want, you can tip the blocks to the high level. If you're feeling like you can go a little lower than low level, you might not need them at all, at which point you bring the forearms to the floor. I'm going to start in the middle. So let's all get there. Take your time. Inhale, exhale. Bring the forearms to the blocks themselves. As far as your neck and head goes, I would tilt it down. Don't let the head just drop down, because we're in a lengthy position, meaning we're facing, our spine is long. I'm going to actually turn my whole body to the side so that you have a side view of what I am doing, because it's important to see what the spine does when you're in the process of doing these sorts of poses. So we'll face around. All right, so coming back to my blocks underneath my legs. Okay, so got the blocks in front of my shin bones again. And I'm gonna come back down, inhaling and exhaling. So this is what I mean, right? I don't want my head to hang down. I want the shoulders to plug in. I want my neck to be in line with the rest of my spine. So my gaze is about at an angle down on the floor. So let's begin our breathing here. Ujjayi breath technique. For 1, exhale. Inhale for 2. Exhale. Inhale for 3. Exhale. Plug the shoulders in. Inhale for 4. Exhale. Inhale for 5. Exhale. And on your next breath in, go ahead and bring the torso back to a full and upright position. Kind of sounds like the flight attendants. Please bring your seat backs and your tray tables to their full and upright position. So that's what we're doing with the torso, bringing it back up to its full and upright position. So that's what we want to experience with that. Let's go ahead, come back to the opposite crossing one more time. I know the hips are like, what is happening? But we can do it. We can do it. So let's bring the blocks back in front of us so that we can do this posture one more time. So take the inhale to prepare. On the exhale, let's lower on down. Right, and then find that point of gaze with your eyes, not forward, because we don't want to crinkle and crunch the neck. Not down, we don't want to let the head hang. So find the middle, because you want the neck to be in line with the rest of the spine. And breathe in here for 1. Exhale. Inhale for 2. Exhale. Inhale for 3. Exhale. Inhale for 4. Exhale. Inhale for 5. And exhale. Beautiful. Slowly make your way back upright with the torso. Now we're going to undo the legs, stretch them out, because we've been sitting in this posture for about 20 minutes. That's a long time. It's a long time to sit cross-legged, but it is worthwhile to do. So I'm going to slip myself off of the end of my bolster. Stretch out the legs. You can point and flex the toes. I've got my pajamas on today. It's a Sunday. You know, I'm chilling. Anywho, point, flex toes. Turn the toes out, in, go back out, and in, and back out. And flex and point one more time. Maybe even crunch toes. Do a little crackle, crackle. And then relax the toes. Now we want to ground the sitting bones. So you might want to just pull the flesh out a little bit so that you feel the bones digging into the floor a little bit. I'm not going to worry about flexing or pointing my feet at the moment. I'm going to let the forward bend be a bit more easy, more relaxing. However, I do want to get a little bit more out of the pose. Excuse me, out of the pose. Whew, that was kind of gross. I'm sorry. That was not expected. And I'm going to pop my heels up onto the blocks. All right. So at this point, using my secondary pair of blocks, I've got my hands on them. However, I might slide them closer to me so I can put my forearms on them. So I'm going to take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, tip forward. Here I am. If you notice, the back is long, My neck is tilted forward a bit, not down, not up. I'm going to hold here. We're going to breathe here and inhale for 1 and exhale. Inhale for 2 and exhale. Inhale for 3 and exhale. Inhale for 4, exhale. Inhale for 5 and exhale. Nice. See if you can, just for your own uh, experience, see how much space you were able to acquire for yourself with that stretch, with rounding your back and letting your head hang. Hopefully you got a little extra something out of that. And then we're going to come up. This is a very short practice for today because I don't want to drag this stuff on for too long. I think about 30 minutes is about right. You all get the point. Seated cross-legged postures, seated forward fold postures. You can move the blocks out from underneath and do things like head to knee pose, where you have one heel in, one leg forward. I do this a fair amount of times. I use a block underneath the knee. I'll use a couple blocks in front to put my forearms on, for example. Here we are. All right, so same deal, keeping the spine long, keeping the neck in line with the rest of the spine. You don't have to go overboard with the pose. In some practices, you could take that, go a lot further along. But for the sake of a more restorative practice, you don't have to do that. Time is what makes a restorative practice beneficial. The more time you spend in a pose in a supported manner, the more you get out of it, the more you focus the breath, the more you concentrate, the more you get out of the pose. So it's important to not try to force something in the manner of a negative connotation of force, where you're hurting yourself, injuring yourself. It's better to just let the posture reveal itself to you. I said that yesterday in class. Let the posture reveal itself to you. In other words, be with the pose for a time, and it will start to unveil itself incrementally. It will start to evolve and shift and change, and your body will then also respond accordingly. So with that in mind, when you approach your yoga practice in that way, you change the dynamics of the posture, you change the dynamics of your practice as a whole, and it becomes more of a therapeutic tool, a holistic pathway in which you can experience healing and restoration, calm, relaxation, peace, all of these nice things that a yoga practice can offer you. It doesn't have to be this hardcore, rigorous, strength-based power kind of practice, not unless that's what you're seeking. And if that is what you are looking to experience in your yoga practice, in terms of asana practice, then that's great. So you have avenues in which to travel. But for the sake of today's focus, we're in a more restorative, holistic, therapeutic way of being. So a lot of blocks, a strap, a bolster, things of that nature, focusing on pranayama techniques. I'm going to turn myself around here. I'm not going to use anything to end today's little tutorial, because after sitting for 20 minutes in cross-legged seated pose, I feel like my hips and knees and ankles are in a much more agreeable place that I could sit in this other alternative way with one heel in front of the other. So I'm not in any discomfort. There's not as much tightness as there was before. Sometimes I might press down on the knees and get a little extra bit out of the pose. But you have to decide how far you want these things to go. The more you practice these postures on a regular basis, the more the muscles will start to change with time. the less tightness you'll experience with time. So if you're only doing a restorative practice once a week, you'll start to notice results, in a month or two or whatever. If you practice the style 2 times a week, you'll notice the results a little bit sooner. If you practice a style of movement with the use of your tools on a fairly regular basis, like daily or every other day, then you'll really start to notice the benefits of the practice itself in areas such as the joints primarily and the spine. So for me, a restorative practice is for joint health and spine health, creating as much mobility and flexibility and stability in the joints and spine as I can muster through this practice. And also, it allows me to relax. Don't don't think that because you're doing a restorative practice that you can't employ other types of asana poses such as inversions, because I still add a headstand practice to my restorative uh, sequencing. So the headstand is still in the flow of those things for me. Uh, and from the point of doing a restorative practice, I will actually use my feet up headstand bench so that I can rest my shoulders on it and my head can dangle. It's not on the ground. My feet are up in the air. So feet up is the tool that I use for my headstand practice that pairs well with the restorative aspect or nature of what I'm doing. Okay, well, that's all I have for today, team. Let's bring our hands together over the heart center. We'll take an inhale through the nose and empty out through the mouth. I will create another one of these tutorials again in the future. I know I'm not as frequent with them as I would like to be, but I will work on that. In the meantime, namaste, Om Shanti Peace, and I will see you again very soon. Be well.